Hello and welcome to This is USG, a video podcast by the universities at Shady Grove. 9 universities, 1 campus, great results. I'm Khademian, Executive Director of USG. There is no way around this sounding like an intended pun, but it's not. It's just a fact. One of the fastest growing academic programs based at USG is the new MS in Medical Cannabis and Sciences and Therapeutics program, which was launched by the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy in 2019 and has already attracted hundreds of students from all over the world. Joining me today to discuss the Cannabis Science program and the kinds of opportunities it is providing for the students and professionals it is serving is Dr. Leah Sera, the program director, and one of the first graduates, Catrena Almonte. Dr. Sera and Ms. Almonte, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you both here. Thanks a lot. Leah, let's start with you. Could you give us a little bit about your bio, your background? What brings you to this point in your life, in your career?
Sure. Well, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Pharmacy Practice and Science. I have been with the School of Pharmacy for almost 10 years, always at the universities at Shady Grove since I started on faculty. And my background clinically is in pain management and palliative care. So I've been familiar with cannabis as medicine for a long time, hearing about it from patients and from healthcare teams, since my residency days in 2010 and 2011. And I first heard about this, the opportunity to be involved with this developing program at the end of 2017, when the dean of our school, Natalie Eddington, announced that she was interested in developing it. And I really wanted to be a part of the program in some way. I asked my department chair to put in a good word for me with the dean. Maybe I could teach a class in the program. And after meeting with Dean Eddington and sharing some of my ideas, she asked me to take the lead on developing the curriculum and the proposal. And it's been just a really wonderful and challenging experience.
Fantastic. And so wonderful that you've spent most of your professional career here at Shady Grove as well. That's really special to us. Catrena, welcome. And why don't you share a little bit about your background as well?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I've been saying that since the admissions committee allowed me to be a part of the program. My background is very different. I come from a very military background. And while I was in the military, I was an Army chaplain. And being an Army chaplain and being underneath the policy, the military's UCMJ policy, which is zero tolerance for cannabis, it's almost interesting that I ended up in this place. And as I worked with soldiers, I found that they were dealing with lots of PTSD. There was traumatic brain injuries to navigate. So it was really, really tough. And so it was really tough for me to do my job as a chaplain. And I started to look for ways to really better do my job. And as I did that, I started researching cannabis, and it was just an effective treatment modality. So that's what brought me to cannabis's front door. But I have to admit, I was very nervous. I did not think that I would get accepted into the program. My background being theology, psychology, I felt like I didn't have enough science. But I have to say, the program did a very, very good job in admitting folks like me to be a part of the program. And if I can be a part of the program and I can tackle some of the tough scientific information that's there, and the professors do such a great job in breaking that down for the students, anyone can do it. So while you say thank you for having me a part of this, I'm saying thank you to USG and UMB for allowing me to be a part of the program.
Catrena, what a great story. And we'll come back to some of the great points that you've raised in the course of this conversation. But I just want to highlight the approach that the program has taken around a multidisciplinary approach, drawing on all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kinds of experiences, to really take a very holistic approach to curative, to curative care, to pain management and wellness. And so I think that's such an interesting point. And I'm fascinated by your background in theology and in the military and how all of that has come together. So let's hold on that. I want to come back to those points in a minute. But Leah, building on this point about the multidisciplinary approach, this is the first of its kind, better than all of us, the first of its kind program in the nation. It's growing so rapidly. What a great idea the School of Pharmacy had to do this. Tell us a little bit about how this came about. A little bit of the history in the School of Pharmacy, identifying this as a great opportunity, a great, major shift in healthcare. A little bit of that background would be fascinating, especially embracing this multidisciplinary approach to science as well.
Thank you. And that was really from the get-go. That was one of the cornerstones of developing the program from an instructional design standpoint. We knew that there were a number of studies published, mostly surveys of healthcare professionals, indicating that they felt they didn't have the knowledge that they needed to help patients or to answer the questions that patients had about medical cannabis. And so that was one thing that helped to inspire us to develop the program, along with the fact that the medical cannabis industry was so rapidly evolving at the time and still is. And we knew that this was a knowledge gap we felt we could address, but not just for healthcare professionals, that there were many aspects of this industry and that many educational programs, not just in healthcare, similarly lacked education on these topics. And we felt that there really was a foundation of knowledge that would benefit anyone moving into this industry. And so we approached the program as you said, holistic and very broad, knowing that if we wanted a very diverse student cohort academically and professionally, we had to provide the support necessary for students without a science background to be successful, while also making sure that the students who did come to us, with a science background, found the program valuable and challenging. And I would say that's been one of the ongoing and most interesting and rewarding challenges for us to tackle, as far as curriculum development goes.
I love that story. I love that kind of forward-leaning thinking of the School of Pharmacy to see this great opportunity and to start to move healthcare in such a positive way. And I attended your two opening ceremonies for your incoming class and for your second year class. And the energy in that room was amazing. People were so excited to see each other. Everybody was excited for the start of the day. Just lots of great energy. You could tell it was a real community already. And then at the end of the day, as I was leaving campus and things were breaking up from your event, people weren't going home. They were all staying on campus, talking, taking pictures together. So you could tell there was this sense of kind of team science and camaraderie that was building. So I think you've done a brilliant job of really, fostering that kind of collaborative approach to learning and team science that I think is so important. Am I observing that correctly, Leah, or do you have a different take on that?
I think so, and that's one of the reasons that I was so glad that we were able to get together physically on campus, because, and Catrena will tell you, because she experienced that in fall of her first year. Unfortunately, we couldn't continue to do those while she was in school because of COVID, but that first symposium where we all get together and we know, all right, there's a passion in all of us for this field, no matter what part of the field, whether we're clinicians or advocates for patients or entrepreneurs or basic scientists, or that's bringing us all together in this room. And I think you read it right, Anne, that it builds a sense of community, and that helps, I think, everybody get through the rest of the semester, because you can then remind yourself, here's why we're all here, we're all in it together, and it really is a special time.
That's wonderful. Catrena, let's pick up again on your experience. And, I find a lot of times here at Shady Grove that a lot of the students who are, who come to Shady Grove in all of our programs are very motivated by a particular problem or a challenge, or, something that they want to solve and really address and tackle. And, I've read and I've heard you talk as well about PTSD as being a challenge that you were seeing in many of the soldiers and the veterans. Tell us about the relationship between this experience and this program. How is this addressing PTSD? What do you see as the future along this path?
Well, first off, this program has, I'll say emphatically, and not being cliche, I feel like this program has changed my life. And the reason why I say that is because this program has matched the professionalism of my background and has given me a good, solid educational bridge to continue on in my future, which is cannabis. And so right now I'm studying to be a clinical psychologist at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, earning another master's in clinical psychopharmacology so that I can offer effective treatment modalities. But also I'm hoping that the laws will change so that I can prescribe cannabis, because that's important too, right? So I'm doing that, as well as I am a professor at Olive Harvey College in Chicago, Illinois, teaching students on cannabis science and social equity in the cannabis realm. So for me, it's definitely paving the way for a very different future that I saw for myself, along with other creative projects that I'm working on. But I have to credit the program in giving me the sort of tools that I needed in order to really shape the career that I wanted for myself. And so once I'm done with the educational portion of my career, I'll definitely be able to step out and reach back to those veterans with the help of the knowledge that I've gotten at the program.
Yeah, that is terrific. That's great. It really is forging a whole new pathway of care, isn't it? It's quite an amazing program. Leah, let's go back to that point. Thinking about, Catrena's got her professional pathway ahead of her. She knows what she wants to do. What kind of opportunities are students preparing for with this degree program? We've heard here, Catrena has a plan to go back and to treat veterans and to work with patients around PTSD. What other kinds of possibilities are there with this? What other kind of career categories are there with this degree program?
That's definitely far and away the question I get most frequently from from anybody who's interested in the program. And the opportunities, I would say, is as diverse as the students are from where they come into the program from the different fields, is as diverse as where they go back out into. So some are looking to completely change, the course of their career, like Catrena said that she has done, and others too. About 70% of our graduates in the class of 2021 indicated that they were looking to change their careers entirely. And some do this by going to do further education, either another master's or PhD. Students have started new businesses. They've gone to work in what one might consider the traditional medical cannabis industry, so in dispensaries or processing facilities. And we do have students who are clinicians who are going to go back to a clinical practice that they have, and either start to treat patients with medical cannabis or to further educate patients and other healthcare providers. And we have students who are interested in advocacy and policy development. So I think there really are a lot of opportunities. And the wonderful thing about our students is that they see possibilities that aren't necessarily laid out for them. And that they really are trailblazers, not only because they trusted us to get them through this new program that nobody had ever done anything like this before, but that they have a vision for themselves. And they've created a community among themselves to support each other as they go out into this field.
That's such an interesting insight on the students who come to the program. They really are, in addition to be maybe problem focused and ready to solve some things, really trailblazers and taking that risk of a whole new career, a whole new path as well. I noticed you have a lot of students from around the world in this program. How does recruitment work for this program? Are students just finding this program, or is there a real pointed effort to do a lot of outreach?
We do, we do outreach on online, and we have virtual, virtual open houses and things like that. I think a lot of students do find us because they're looking for an opportunity for education, and they come to our program that way. So I think that right now it's students are looking for this, that they want this education, they want a program that will help them to build a professional life in the medical cannabis field, and so that's how they find our program.
That's great. Yeah, it's wonderful to see people connected from all over the world interested in this in this possibility. Catrena, you've talked a little bit about your experience in the program, but I wonder if you could share a little bit more. You talked about your hesitancy of not having a strong science background initially, but the support you had from your fellow students and also from your professors. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the program. What was that like, year one and year two? What are some of the things that stand out for you?
Well, one of the things that that really stuck out in our symposium, the first one from the fall, there was so much synergy and energy in that room. And I can't remember the last time I had an experience like that. And so I walked away really, really motivated. But I also remember Dr. Coop, he had like this impressive intro. Like I can't even begin to tell you the sort of intimidation and fear that I had as he started to speak about cannabinoid pharmacology and all of these different things that I'd have to learn. And I was just so nervous. But I remember the very first week in the very first lecture that he gave, and all of that nervousness just went away. And I was like, okay, I can get this. I think I can do this. And each week I still met his lectures with hesitancy and fear because I kept waiting for the shoe to drop. But I did very, very well in his class. And I walked away with a solid understanding. And I felt so good about my experience. And so during the time that in my second year, I served as the ambassador of the program. And I often used that experience when I spoke with perhaps older students that were nervous in coming back to school, or students that just felt like their background just wasn't right, but they knew that they had this passion for cannabis. So I used that sort of opportunity and that experience that I had in order for them to feel just a little bit better about the process, and just really leveled with them. Hey, I'm no different than you. You're no different than me. If I was able to get this, then so can you. So that was my experience.
Yeah, it's great. It's terrific to hear about a professor who can take a very complicated topic, very challenging topics, and share it in a way that is challenging and thought-provoking, but also accessible. So that's terrific. That's fantastic. So Leah, tell us about some of the challenges of managing a program like this. What are some of the roadblocks you face? What are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome in trying to deliver this program?
I think the biggest obstacle in my mind, as a program director, as an instructional designer, is still the federal regulatory status of cannabis being Schedule 1, because it limits what we're able to do in the program and what we're able to teach. We are not able to have any hands-on experiences, so our students don't never touch the plant while they're in the program. We don't do research with the cannabis plant at University of Maryland, Baltimore, because of its status as Schedule 1 medication, which essentially makes it illegal from a federal standpoint. Although of course many states have now legalized cannabis for medical use and some for adult use as well. We also were advised early on by the Maryland Office of the Attorney General, with whom we shared our curriculum, that we could not teach any topics related to business. So we had, hoped to teach, to provide electives on things like leadership and management and things like that, marketing, and we were not able to do that as either. That was probably the biggest roadblock. Really from aside from that, we really received a lot of support for the program, for developing and implementing the program from the university system, Maryland, from the Board of Regents, from the Maryland Higher Education Commission. I think that everybody saw the need for the program, and that this was a new and innovative program, and really supported us through. And the medical cannabis community has been extremely supportive as well. So I'm hopeful that, as things change from a regulatory standpoint, we'll be able to expand the program and evolve along with the industry itself.
Yeah, that is tremendously challenging, I think, what you describe. But again, such a thoughtful way that you all have managed to make the program successful in spite of. And when things change, all the better for the program as well. What do you attribute to the rapid growth of this program? We've talked a little bit about this, but I mean, the growth has been incredible, and as you said, the enthusiasm, despite all those obstacles that are there that you've described. Why the rapid growth? Why do you think there's so much interest in this program?
I'll say, what I think, and then I'll let Catrena share her thoughts as well. I think that our program, existing and being successful and having, graduated our first cohort, we're really doing some work in, legitimizing and professionalizing, medical, cannabis as medicine. We're saying, we at the School of Pharmacy here at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, know that cannabis is medicine, and that's why we've developed this program and why we're teaching it. And I think that is something that is felt very strongly by those in this field, and I think that people were probably looking for an opportunity like this to come along.
Catrena, what do you think? Yeah.
So, Dr. Sera, you bring up a really great point. The legitimacy of the program, the professionalism of the program. My background, being in the military for 20 years, it was really important for me to maintain that same level of professionalism. I did not want to take a misstep and get a certificate. And there's nothing wrong with certificates, but for where I'm trying to go and what I want to accomplish, I just think that a certificate program would not have given me enough tools. So I think some people may be looking for the legitimacy of the program, the professionalism. Some people just want the collegiate experience, So you hear about cannabis, and some people have not gone to college. Some people have not done as much in their backgrounds. And so when they see a program like this, they're like, wow, this is something I can really aspire to. This is something that I can really do. So for all of those people that have applied, there's tons more people that are wishing they were in the space to be able to apply to a program like this. So I think the numbers will probably continue to grow, personally, in my opinion.
I think so too. I think so too. Leah, are you ready for that growth? Are you ready for next 200 or so?
Well,
How are you thinking about growth in the program?
we're exploring lots of different ways that we can, consider expanding the program in the future. We, have been lucky to be able to expand from, 150 in our first cohort to 250 students in our second and third cohorts. And it's been great, that we've seen, pretty consistent, level of interest. And it's been wonderful. So certainly hope that continues.
Hope so too. I wonder if we could wrap up with both of you kind of sharing some leaning forward thoughts. And Catrena, I'll start with you. Um, your approach to this program and your experience of this program is fascinating, especially you bring a military background. It's very interesting to hear you talk about the need for highly professionalized experience that matches your experience, your previous professional experience as well. As you look to the future and you look at around you, your peers, your classmates in this program, how do you see a program like this changing the face of medicine more generally? How do you see a program like this? It's really offering a whole different kind of professional experience to a broader group, much more diverse in background, and much more holistic in approach to medicine. But I'm wondering, have you given that some thought about how this changes medicine more generally, a program like this? It's very groundbreaking.
Well, I think, we talked about the legitimacy of the program, but also this program being as legitimate as it is lending legitimacy to cannabis as medicine. And that's one of the things that Dr. Sera actually shared. And I think the more that notion and that fact, rather, is out there, the more it's going to change the cannabis landscape. So the hope is that more accountants will be a part of this program, that more doctors will be a part of this program, that more lawyers will be a part of this program, drawing all sorts of professional backgrounds to come and be a part of this program, so that now you have these new people going back out into the world, changing the cannabis landscape. And those people that are in the world are going to see their physicians and they're going to say, well, my accountant said this, my lawyer said that, this person said this. I'd like to talk about cannabis as medicine. Can we have that conversation? Can we have the conversation without the snickering, without the eye rolling, without the stigma that comes along with cannabis as medicine? So the hope is that the conversation surrounding cannabis will be much easier to have, and it will be just better, just make the world a better, happier cannabis landscape.
Bravo, bravo, absolutely. Leah, what about you? Do you have any additional thoughts on how this is changing the future of medicine?
And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you were talking about, more holistic kind of healthcare landscape. I think that people really desire more holistic care, a kind of healthcare that's less paternalistic, where a patient and the healthcare team are there's more of a partnership, and I think that people feel a sense of control when because cannabis medicine is so personalized, and because it is so different than our traditional healthcare system. And I think that it's not just patients, but it's healthcare providers who are also looking for these new roles in healthcare, and so there's so much to do in this field. As Catrena says, it's not just patients and healthcare providers that need to be involved in moving this field forward. It's those who are developing, policies, state, local, federal policies. It's all of the individuals who are working to support the industry, who are going to be doing research. And so we hope that our program is going to be a place where all of them can come, they can experience that sense of community, motivation, and get that foundational education in medical cannabis that will enable them to move the field forward.
Terrific. I love the emphasis on partnership in healthcare as well. This is so important. And also, I just want to lift up what both of you said, which is that it's not only about healthcare, the immediate healthcare treatment, but it's about the broader understanding of the importance of cannabis as medicine. So thank you both for your time today. It's been a delight to get to know you both and to learn more about this wonderful program. It's an honor to have this program here at Shady Grove, and I wish you both a lot of success going forward.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.